Hi guys, you are going to start the second part of your notes for topic 2, and this one is just based off of equations. So this should be pretty simple. After you finish your notes today, you're going to have 2 digits assignments that you need to get 100% on. If you finish those digits assignments, then you have time to work on your second homework for topic 2 that will be due tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get started. You're first going to learn how to write equations based off of the constant of proportionality, and then you'll learn how to identify the constant of proportionality from equations. Okay, so if we were to go ahead and get started on this, let's go ahead and, oops, sorry about that, guys. Let's go ahead and start here. It says how to write equations. The first thing that you need to do is find your constant of proportionality. Okay, and then we are always going to write our constant of proportionality as y over x. So make sure we have it as y over x here. It says in the lowest terms, but keep as an, so you want to make sure that it's in lowest terms, keep as an improper fraction, and then you do not want to write it as a decimal or mixed number. However, I'm okay with it written as a decimal, and you'll actually see some equations written as a decimal also. Okay. Number 2, you want to remember that y is a constant variable of x. Okay, and then here are your equations. Okay, it can be written in either form, but you won't ever need to really touch y or x unless they tell you it is. And then k or m is going to be your constant of proportionality. The y equals kx is what you'll see majority of 7th grade, and then 8th grade is where they throw m in there because m stands for slope, so you'll see that in your future also. And then if you do not have equivalent ratios throughout, then the table, graph, or situation is not proportional, and then there is no constant of proportionality. Let's see. Okay, then it says practice identifying the constant of proportionality from your equation. So if you look at these equations up here, they're going to help you determine what your constant of proportionality is down here. Remember, your constant is always where the k or the m is in your equation. So if I look at this first equation, 1/2 is right where the k would be in this equation, so your constant of proportionality is 1/2. It's that easy. It's basically just the number in the equation. In your second equation, they wrote it kind of backwards. It's like a mirror. So if you want to rewrite it so that your y is first, you can, and then it'll be written in the same form that you see above. So whatever number is in that k slot, that's going to be your constant of proportionality. So in this case, it's number -7. And yes, you are allowed to have a negative for your constant of proportionality. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and find the constant from the tables. So it's just like yesterday. You're always going to have your ratio of y over x to help you out. Oops. Sorry about that. Of y over x to help you out. So in my first one, it's 16 over 2, which reduces down to 8 over 1. And then that's going to be the same throughout. So 32 over 4 reduces down to 8 over 1. 48 over 6 reduces down to 8 over 1. 64 over 8 reduces down to 8 over 1. So your constant of proportionality is 8 over 1 or 8. Doesn't matter. So then now when I write the equation, the number 8 is going to go in the spot where the k is in your equation. So you're going to have y equals 8x. And you would need to write this whole thing. The y and the equal sign and the 8 and the x. Okay? Then you're going to do the same thing for the second table. If you look for the second table here, your first ratio is 2.5 over 5. And this is where I said that decimal is actually going to come in handy. So you're going to have to actually do 2.5 divided by 5 to figure out what that equals. 5 can't go into 2, but it can go into 25. So I bring up my decimal, and my answer is 0.25. It's the same thing for my second ratio. So if you look there, I also get 0.5. And then my third ratio is 4 over 8, which is equal to 1/2. And my fourth ratio is 5 over 10, which is equal to 1/2. So your constant of proportionality is 0.5 or 1/2. So your equation is y equals 0.5x or y equals 1/2 x. Either one will be accepted. Okay, the last part would be to identify your constant of proportionality in a graph. So you can pick any point on the graph. So if I pick that middle point, my middle point for y over x would be 12 over 10, which reduces down to 6 over 5. So my constant of proportionality is 6 over 5, and my equation would be y equals 6 over 5x. Same thing with this graph. I can pick any point where the y and the x meet. So there's not necessarily any points, but you can find one. So for example, I found one there, and it's 40 over 4, which equals 10 over 1. So your constant is 10 over 1 or 10, and y equals 10x. Okay, and then the last thing that I wanted to show you is if, you have an equation that they gave you in your digits problem. So for example, you'll see, hey, the perimeter of a square is, equal to the equation of P equals, 5S. And they say use this equation to determine what the perimeter would be if I have a side length of, 8 inches. And they say that P stands for perimeter and S stands for side length. So you have to read the word problem to determine what each one represents. Well, we don't know what the P is. That's what we have to figure out for perimeter. But they told us that the side length was 8 inches. So I'm actually going to plug that in and say P is equal to 5. And instead of an S, I'm going to put the 8 there because they said 8 was the side length. Now, in order to solve the perimeter, I just have to multiply those two numbers together because they're right next to each other. So the perimeter is equal to 40. Same thing if I use another example. Let's say they say, the area equation is shown below, where A is represented by area and W is equal to width. If on a particular shape, the width is, 12 inches, see if you can determine what the area would be based off of the equation. So with that being said, you just have to plug in 12 for the W, and that just means to multiply these two numbers together, so your area would be 36. Okay, I hope this helped, and I hope you guys will be great for the sub as you go ahead and do your 2 digits assignments. Remember, if you finish early, you can go ahead and start on your homework, and don't forget about that weekly math review 5 due Friday.